Thank you, Ambassador Baxter, for that gracious introduction. And it is just such an honor to be invited here today by Dr. Kay and her distinguished faculty to be here to address Fremont College's graduating class and your proud family and friends who are gathered. I really hope you're enjoying every moment of your special day. And I'm sure that you're eager to get past some of the formalities, especially this speech, to enjoy your time on the stage right here that you've worked so hard to earn. So perhaps I should just pick a topic I know something about, get on with it. All right, I'm a physician. How about choosing between these two? The harmful effects of immobilization of skeletal muscle on human physiology, that's choice number one, or quality improvement in complex organizations. I'm not sensing a big groundswell for either one. I don't think either topic is really grabbing you. But I'm hoping if you'll give me a few minutes of your time here, if only just to see if I can possibly weave these two topics together into a coherent graduation speech, that there may be something in it for you and perhaps something that could be helpful to you. But first I want to see if we're on a similar wavelength. Okay, so this part is going to be for audience participation. Don't get nervous. I'm not going to call on you. You're not even going to have to raise your hand. But when I ask you a question, if the answer is yes, if you could just kind of give me a couple head nods would be enough. I don't ask for a lot. Okay, what I'm going to do is describe a dream. And then I want to ask you to nod your head if you've ever had a dream that's similar. Now, your dream doesn't have to be exactly identical to mine, but just a dream that's kind of similar in effect. So here it goes. In this dream, you suddenly realize that there's a test this afternoon and you're not prepared. Yes. Perhaps you forgot your textbook got lost, or you forgot to check the syllabus and you didn't even realize that today was the big day for the test. Or maybe your dream isn't about a test at all, but a play that suddenly you're expected to perform in, but somehow you never got a copy of the script, or you got it and you forgot to memorize it, and it's almost time for you to go on stage. Now, your dream might vary from these, but if you've had a dream that's a little bit like these in what I'm describing, would you just give me a couple nods here? Yes. Okay, so it's looking kind of like a bobblehead convention at a stadium gift display shop. We've all had some kind of dream that leaves us feeling this way. They often involve academic pursuits. So I think what these graduates may be hoping is that I'm here as a person who's graduated a few times myself, who can actually give you some good news and tell you that these dreams are behind you, that you're not going to have them anymore once you cross this stage. But guess what? Unfortunately, that's not true. Now, I'm not predicting that you're going to have life filled with nightmares, mind you. These types of dreams are just sort of mildly annoying. They're called anxiety dreams, and they will probably turn up periodically throughout your life. Now, I have an extraordinarily talented and I might say well-adjusted colleague who has 3 degrees beyond her bachelor's degrees. And she told me just last week that she still dreams that all 3 of these degrees get taken away from her because somebody claims that she never actually graduated from high school, and so therefore she couldn't have these college degrees. Now, I'm not telling you this as bad news. I don't want to depress you and say you're going to be having these dreams, but I'm telling you because I want to tell you something that may help you that I never figured out when I was your age. And I think it will help. And that is the fact that these dreams are actually so common and really means that it's a shared human characteristic to worry that somehow we don't measure up, that we won't make the grade, that others are better, smarter, luckier, more lovable, more likely to succeed than we are. Well, guess what? If we're all having these same anxious thoughts, then you can take some comfort in realizing that those feelings of self-doubt are not realistic. You have within you the ability to put those dreams of self-doubt and self-criticism behind you and replace them with behaviors that will help you fulfill your positive personal dreams. My personal dream is to take this hat off. You've been dreaming that? All righty. So what are the specific behaviors that are going to help you fulfill your dreams? Are there actually a few principles that can be useful to you, even as we celebrate your achievements in such different programs that are represented here among our graduates? I think so, but this is where I get back to those two topics that I claim to know something about, maybe I threatened you with in the beginning. Okay, first, the harmful effects of immobilization on skeletal muscle and human physiology. Whoa, that's a mouthful. Now, more than 50 years ago, researchers started to figure out what physicians had not, and that is that prolonged bed rest is not good for you. Now, you sports and rehab grads could probably cite the literature to me on this, but let's put it in terms we all can understand. Extended immobilization, too much bed rest, actually causes our resting heart rate to increase. In other words, we actually become less fit by resting. So here's one tip for achieving your dreams. Don't sit still too long. Get moving. Take some initiative. I love the story of the boy who tells his father he's too tired to walk any farther. So the father says, okay, you can run a little. The boy happily runs, showing that a change of pace, even when challenging, can actually be energizing. So for most of us, it's not bed rest that immobilizes us. It's probably fear. I'm not talking about fear of scary monsters under the bed. I'm talking about fear that I won't be good enough, that my efforts won't be successful. But hey, trying to be too good can actually be as dangerous as not trying to be good at all. When I was in about the 9th grade, I had an assignment to write a story for an English class. I couldn't think of a story to write. I agonized, I worried, I fretted, but I didn't write a word. My mom, in frustration, finally said, do something even if it's wrong. Now that may sound like odd advice coming from a parent, but it has really come in handy over the years. Sometimes we can be paralyzed about starting something because we can't see our way clear to know how we're going to finish it. Now, my mom's outburst sort of hurt my feelings, I have to admit, but it pushed me to write this sentence, he walked, on my blank piece of paper. Now then that sentence led me to think, where was he walking? Why was he walking? So each of those questions led my imagination to an answer. And soon I actually had a story that I could submit. So just get going, initiating something, that was half the battle. So I've advised you so far to avoid the trap of inactivity. But of all the things you could do, all the activities you could undertake, which ones will you undertake? We all only have 24 hours in a day. However, each of us do have the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. So think about how you use your time, because it's all the time you'll have. You can't go back and reclaim what was wasted, and you can't get a second helping of time. So what I want to give you are a technique for deciding how to spend your time. Okay, so this takes me back to the other topic I threatened you with. This is quality improvement in complex organizations. Okay, now I learned these techniques in the healthcare field, but the techniques will hold true in every setting, family, friends, graduates as well. Because you need to remember that even small organizations, including your own household, are actually complex organizations. When more than one person is involved, trust me, there's complexity. So continuous quality improvement techniques can work for you. Now, there's a phrase in the quality improvement world that says, what gets measured gets done. It's human nature to put more emphasis on an activity when we know there will be a grade, when we know somebody's watching. So here are 2 key steps in any quality improvement program. Number 1, pick something as your goal to measure against that's actually important. Something that would make a difference if you could accomplish it. Number 2, establish some interim goals, some milestones, since you can't expect to achieve that huge overall goal immediately. Now, measuring your progress on those milestones is going to keep you motivated and on track to achieve the big goal, even if that one takes a long time. Developing a timetable for meeting those interim goals will improve your likelihood for success. Now, here's how the quality improvement approach can help you when you start a new job or on your current job. Confer with your boss and identify some goals you'd like to achieve that will help your company. Then keep track of your progress. If you're a paralegal, maybe you'll suggest a way to prepare legal documents that reduces the turnaround time. Or perhaps if you're in design, you'll keep track of wasted fabric in a design studio to reduce the production and overhead costs and make your company more successful. Perhaps you'll use your business and administrative leadership skills to reduce employee turnover and lower costs for recruitment and training. Now, showing this kind of commitment to quality work and success of your enterprise is bound to make you a star. Perhaps you'll recognize the importance of getting your rehab therapy clients to follow your instructions for their home program, and you'll figure out a way to measure how effectively you've engaged them in doing that. Or maybe you'll focus on offering a massage experience that amazes your clients, so you'll start measuring their satisfaction to gauge your own progress. Be committed to constant quality improvement, and you'll make yourself indispensable. You'll solve problems that other people haven't even noticed as problems. You'll see them as opportunities. And those are the steps that will lead to career success. See these problems as opportunities and take those steps. Now, let me remind you, however, those are the steps to career success, but there's a lot more to life success than career success. Life success is bigger, but the same principles of quality improvement apply. In thinking of your whole life beyond the workplace, the goals aren't always as obvious as those examples I just gave you that you might suggest in your workplace. Of course, you can sit here on this graduation day and say, my goal is to be happy. But what will actually make you happy? So arriving at the answer at that question is actually a little harder than it sounds. So here's a quality improvement technique that might be useful to you in answering that question for yourself. Okay, to set your goal, fill in the blanks in this sentence. I want to be the kind of person who, fill in the blank. Now, when you fill in that blank, then think, wow, how would I measure myself against that? How would I know that that's happening, that I'm on track to achieve that goal? Well, here's how it works. You fill in the blank, I want to be the kind of person who, and then you set some short-term goals for becoming that kind of person. Now, let me give you an example so this might make a little more sense. Suppose I say, I want to be the kind of person who makes the community a better place in which to live. Okay, so maybe someday, pretty far out, my metric to know I had achieved that is that I serve on the board of the Countywide Diversity Initiative. That would indicate to me I'm making my community a better place to live. But guess what? Where do you start to do that? Okay, well today, maybe you start by not being too proud to pick up a paper towel that somebody else dropped on the floor in your kitchen or restroom. Let's say my goal when I fill in the blank is I want to be the kind of person who is trusted by others. Well, maybe down the line, perhaps I'm elected treasurer of the Rotary Club. But right now, what do I do now to make that happen? Maybe I start 5 minutes earlier to make sure I'm on time for work and social appointments. Let's say I want to be the type of person who makes a difference in the lives of young people. Well, way out in the future, who knows, maybe I could endow a scholarship. But right now, I could take the time to talk with a high school junior about the college application process. I could tell them about my experience at Fremont College. Maybe my goal is I want to be the kind of person who establishes a secure home for my children. Out in the future, maybe I have established substantial insurance or resources. But right now, what do? I speak kindly to my significant other and my children. I take a class on managing conflict. I spend less than I earn. Suppose my goal is I want to be the kind of person who's known as a high performer at work. So some point in my career, I want to be able to check off the box that I've advanced steadily through a series of more and more responsible jobs. But for right now, what do? How about I resist the temptation to chit-chat too much at the water cooler at work and I focus and do what Dr. K suggests of put in the work. So maybe someday I want to be known as the kind of person who is generous to others. Long term, who knows, maybe I've acquired a boat or a vacation home and I could be generous and allow that to be used in a charity auction to raise money to help other people. But right now, Maybe I offer a ride to a friend, or maybe I pack my lunch on a couple days and take the money that I would have spent and contribute that to support a food bank. Maybe I participate in a Red Cross blood drive. Maybe my long-term goal is to create a lasting and loving marriage, and my long-term metric for that is on my 50th anniversary, I can list 50 things I love about my spouse. But hey, in the short term, what do? I find some activities we enjoy doing together, and I start building those reasons that we love each other. And the last thing, perhaps, of I want to be the kind of person who is inspiring to other people. So on the short term, you can observe people's good qualities. You can compliment them and encourage them. But in the long term, I just want to give you one example, and I want to tell you about my friend Pat Pratt. Now, Patricia Pratt, I met her for the first time last December. She's a modest woman. She survived a divorce. She raised several children. She worked her whole career as a secretary until retiring fairly recently. Doesn't sound too out of the ordinary. I met her when she was being honored for having given $1 million to the Arthritis Foundation. Now here's her story. She decided as a young woman that she would save her money to donate it to fight the disease that had ravaged her mother's joints. Now I asked Pat how she did this, how she was able to do this. She wasn't a big earner. What she said to me is, when you really care about what you're trying to accomplish, when you're passionate about it, it's much easier to have the discipline to do what needs to be done to achieve it. Then it doesn't really seem like a sacrifice, because you've already made your choice about what you want to do. When my life circumstances changed, she told me, suddenly I still had children to raise, but no husband to help. And I realized I couldn't afford to keep the new car that I had recently purchased. I just sold it and got a smaller, older car. I never gave any serious thought to tapping into my savings that I was saving to fight this disease, just to help me keep my car, because I had already set my goal to save as much as I could to fight the disease that had caused my mother so much pain. Now, there are plenty of ways to inspire others, and most of them don't involve money, certainly don't involve saving $1 million. But Pat's story is inspiring to me because she never let the nagging anxiety that pops out in so many people's dreams limit her own goals and achievements. She vowed to make a difference in fighting the disease, and the tools she had to work with were her secretarial skills and her willingness to focus on a goal and learn about investments and stick with her plan, even when it involved eating more potatoes and less steak. Now, the late Stephen Covey said, "Motivation is a fire from within. If someone else tries to light a fire under you, chances are it will burn very briefly." Now, Pat Pratt had that motivation within. Congratulations on the motivation that brought you to Fremont College and that made you successful in completing your program. Today, some initials are being added to your name. Those initials, as satisfying as they are, can only take you so far. The key now depends not on those initials, but on what you initiate, what you start, what you set in motion. Will you rise to the challenge to avoid the dangers of immobilization, inactivity? Will you put fear behind you and think lucky? Hey, if you fall in the lake, check your back pocket. You might have caught a fish. Will you decide for yourself what's important, what kind of person you want to be, what reputation you want to build that will signify your happy life, and then use the tried and true quality improvement techniques I've described to help make it happen for you and for those you love. You are well prepared to decide. You are surrounded by people, some here, some not here, who stand ready to help you take every step forward. Congratulations and blessings on you as you initiate your own future.